After a viral clip of Kodak Black had the internet questioning his state of mind,
I don't even know what's going on, so why y'all speaking on y'all don't know. You snitching.
Boosie Badazz stepped in with a post that poured gasoline on an already smoldering situation. Kodak needs help, Boosie wrote. And just like that, what could have been quiet concern turned into a public collision.
I'm a realist, bro. I'm a realist.
Kodak wasn't feeling it. Not the tone, not the timing, not the fact that it was said in front of the whole world. Y'all don't even know what's going on, was the energy he came back with. And from there, things got personal. The Clash, February 2026.
You snitching. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of little shit like, friend, come on, man.
In February 2026, footage surfaced of Kodak performing at a show in Texas. The clip spread like wildfire. He looked disoriented, security had to hold him upright. Reports claimed he showed up 9 hours late.
Playing with me on this internet. I swear to God.
Within hours, every timeline was flooded. Boosie saw it, and instead of calling privately, he went public. Dude needs help from afar. That one sentence dragged their long-running tension back into the spotlight. But this wasn't new behavior.
Try to see you. I don't be trying to care about you.
Boosie had been speaking on Kodak for months, years even, and every time he did, Kodak took it as disrespect. Kodak went live and addressed it head-on. No subliminals, no coded shots. He made it clear he sees himself a certain way, and Boosie jumping online to paint him like a loose cannon, that didn't match how Yak viewed himself at all. Then he dropped the word that shook the streets, snitching.
My brother got told on. Homie, I got told on when I was in homie carjacking.
Now Kodak wasn't accusing Boosie of talking to the feds. That wasn't the angle. What he meant was different, but just as serious in street culture. To Kodak, putting another man's personal business on blast for the world to dissect, that's its own form of ratting. In his eyes, running to the internet about another man's struggles, his habits, his mental state, his life, was a violation, period. He looked straight into the camera and told Boosie to fall back.
Like, all this shit I'm going through right now, like, man, I shouldn't even have no energy for this shit, bro. Like, I'm going through real gangster shit.
I don't be in your mix. I don't be speaking on you. That was the line in the sand. Kodak wasn't treating this like rap beef. He was treating it like betrayal. He tied Boosie's public commentary to deeper wounds, to the pain of having people expose you. Where they're from, getting told on isn't just disrespect, it's foul. Boosie's side of the story.
I can't be going back and forth on no internet, bro. Like, especially with Yak.
Boosie had already been addressing criticism around him speaking on different topics, including the Young Thug situation. He admitted fans were pressing him about it, but he claimed he had bigger problems. At the time, he was facing federal gun charges. Sentencing was approaching. The feds were on his back. According to him, he didn't have the bandwidth for Kodak's energy.
You know, I'm trying to get the same thing you got from the same people. And you know that, bro. Come on, type of shit you in.
Then he said something layered. We both trying to eat off the same plate from the same people. That wasn't enemy talk. That sounded like frustration from someone who felt Kodak should understand the bigger picture, the industry politics, the shared struggle, the competition for relevance and money.
I care about you in the screen, you rap, so you.
But Kodak wasn't hearing any of that. To him, Boosie was just another rapper with his name in his mouth. Full stop. Where it really started, 2023. Before the smoke, there was respect.
Kodak Black just got arrested.
Yeah.
Apparently, he was high off something. He fell asleep in his car when the police pulled.
Boosie had spoken highly of Kodak's raw talent, called him gifted, even gave him advice, telling him to leave Florida, warning him about the toxic environment surrounding him. It was OG to young bull energy. Kodak even later admitted in his own bars that he used to look up to Boosie. That mentorship vibe, it got torched in July 2023. The reason? Tekashi 6ix9ine. When Kodak linked with 6ix9ine on Shakalaka, it sent shockwaves through hip-hop culture. 6ix9ine had become one of the most infamous cooperators in modern rap history after testifying in federal court.
They say that he had a mouthful of cocaine.
Yeah.
If that video comes out, if they had a body cam, you see Kodak.
For many in the culture, he was radioactive. Boosie didn't agree to disagree. He went scorched earth. He made it clear, no amount of money justified working with someone who violated the code. He even questioned Kodak's street credibility entirely. Coming from Boosie, a man who served real time and built his reputation on authenticity, that hit different. To Boosie, it wasn't just about a song. It was about what that song represented.
With a mouthful of cocaine, that is going to be the biggest meme of 2024.
Kodak fired back, calling Boosie a clown and accusing him of trying to stay relevant by policing the younger generation. That was the first real exchange of smoke, and it set the pattern. Diss tracks and money tension. By August 2023, Boosie dropped a diss record titled Ungrateful. It wasn't subtle.
Hey, I don't laugh because I don't laugh at people's troubles, bro. I mean, I got my own trouble.
He accused Kodak of trashing his reputation and disrespecting the culture. Then things escalated financially. In November 2023, Boosie accused Kodak of sampling his music without proper clearance. Now, pride and principles weren't the only factors. Money was involved. And when pride plus money collide, peace becomes expensive.
That he doesn't do cocaine, he does meth and perks. Like, this is somehow better. Like, he said, I ain't no junkie.
Kodak answered in February 2024 with 11 a.m. in Malibu, throwing shots right back.
I told y'all before, man, even when me and Kodak had, I won't see him get help, bro.
Boosie responded publicly, repeating his stance. Kodak was self-sabotaging. Since the 6ix9ine collab, he believed Kodak's career was spiraling. There was a brief window in 2024 when Boosie publicly said he was ending the beef. He wished Kodak well.
Look, I know that shiny skin that...
What does shiny skin mean? What do you mean?
It's like a drug addict.
He criticized the media for pitting black artists against each other. It looked mature, like an olive branch. But unresolved tension doesn't disappear. It just waits. February 2026. Why it hit harder. When that Texas performance footage dropped, it wasn't just another viral moment. It reopened years of wounds. For Boosie, it was concern mixed with frustration. For Kodak, it was public disrespect disguised as concern. That's the real clash. Not discography, not charts, not who's hotter. It's about boundaries. One man saying, "Stop speaking on my life." The other saying, "I'm telling the truth." And in a culture where reputation is currency, that tension isn't small, it's explosive. And if history tells us anything about these two, this chapter might not be the last. But that truce, it was built on sand, and sand can't survive a flood. The Tekashi 6ix9ine collaboration may have been the match that lit the fuse between Boosie Badazz and Kodak Black, but it wasn't the fuel that kept the fire burning. The real gasoline? The drug dimension. The subtext behind every shot.
I've been around them dudes.
If you rewind every public comment Boosie has made about Kodak over the past few years, there's a thread running underneath it. It's not just about clout, not just about street codes, not just about respect. It's about substances. Every time Boosie called Kodak crazy, every time he said Yak was spiraling, every time he shifted from opponent to concerned OG, that was the subtext. You could hear it in his tone, that uneasy blend of frustration and familiarity, like someone who's seen the movie before and already knows how it ends.
Yeah, I've been getting my fans on my ass. Everybody in my DM talking about, speak on the thugger.
The arrest that made it loud. When Kodak caught a charge and the arrest details started circulating, the internet went into overdrive. The reports sounded surreal, wild, almost unbelievable. Boosie addressed it in an interview, and his reaction perfectly captured the complicated cocktail he's been serving this whole time. Half humor, half heartbreak. He joked, he shook his head, he painted the picture the way the headlines were painting it. But then something shifted. Mid-sentence, he pulled back. The laughter faded, and what came through instead sounded like real sadness.
When it's time for me to speak on anything, I'm gonna speak on it. Whoever put me on their couch, bro.
That push and pull, clowning the situation while recognizing it might be another man's rock bottom, is the tension that's defined this entire beef from day one. Boosie has roasted Kodak, he's embarrassed him publicly, but he said, repeatedly, that what he really wants is for him to get right.
I'm an open book. I'm gonna speak on it, I'm gonna tell how I feel.
Now, whether that concern is 100% genuine or partly performance is something fans debate endlessly, but Boosie has never stopped saying it. The Instagram defense that backfired. Then, Kodak made things even stranger. After the arrest, he hopped on Instagram to deny the cocaine allegations, but in doing so, he casually admitted to meth and Percocets. The internet exploded. His defense somehow sounded worse than the accusation. It became one of those moments that critics point to when they talk about judgment, because instead of clearing his name, he reinforced the narrative.
Boost, bro. If somebody gotta put me on that couch, better do that.
Boosie reacted like a man watching a car roll toward a cliff in slow motion while the driver insists everything's under control. He didn't frame it as gossip, he framed it as pattern recognition. That distinction matters, because Boosie is holding two positions at once and feels no contradiction. He's beefing with Kodak, and he's worried about Kodak. In his mind, those two things can coexist. I've been there before. Boosie went even deeper in one interview. He talked about recognizing physical tells in Kodak, the body language, the energy shifts, the speech patterns. He referenced watching him on platforms like Drink Champs and No Jumper and seeing signs that felt familiar, not because he Googled addiction symptoms, but because he lived it. Boosie admitted he had been in that same dark place before. He spoke openly about his past with PCP, Angel Dust, and how he recognized pieces of that chaos in Kodak's behavior. That admission changed the tone entirely. It stopped being one rapper checking another. It became an older man looking at someone younger and seeing his own worst chapters reflected back at him. Whether Kodak received it that way is another story, but for Boosie, the drug issue was never just diss track ammo. It was the emotional core of his frustration, watching undeniable talent choose substances over stability and feeling powerless to stop it. Then came the Young Thug situation. If drugs were the emotional undercurrent, the Young Thug controversy injected venom into the bloodstream. In September 2025, rumors exploded across social media regarding Thug's conduct in his RICO case. Allegations of cooperation swirled. The culture split down the middle. Into that tension stepped Kodak, and instead of addressing Thug directly, he aimed his question at Boosie. Why is the say what everybody thinking guy silent now? That wasn't curiosity, that was strategic. Kodak went straight at Boosie's brand identity. Boosie built his reputation on being fearless, on calling things out no matter who it's about. So when one of the biggest snitching allegations in modern hip-hop surfaced and Boosie didn't comment, Kodak saw an opening. The implication was clear. Is your keeping it real selective? Boosie fired back with a lengthy post on X. He accused Kodak of still being emotional about past criticism, said this wasn't about Thug, it was about lingering resentment from the 6ix9ine era. He made it clear, he speaks when he wants about what he wants, and then he escalated. He claimed Kodak had entered protective custody during his prison stint. In their world, that accusation hits like a hammer. Protective custody carries stigma. It suggests someone couldn't handle general population. Whether true or not almost doesn't matter once the narrative spreads, and Boosie knew exactly what weight those words carried. He didn't stop there. He said Kodak's career had been downhill since the 6ix9ine collab, that he would be remembered more for drugs than talent. Then he added something brutally honest. He speaks on platforms when there's a check involved. That was both raw and tactical. By framing his silence on the Young Thug situation as business, not fear, he sidestepped Kodak's challenge while reinforcing that his time has value. Translation: you want commentary? Book me. Snitching redefined. Kodak responded by leaning hard into one word: snitching. But not in the federal paperwork sense. In Kodak's definition, every time Boosie jumps on a podcast and details his struggles, his drug use, his mental state, his chaos, that's rat behavior. It's airing out another man's private battles for public consumption. To Kodak, that's a violation of the code. He doesn't see concern, he sees exposure. He doesn't see OG guidance, he sees someone running to the internet. And that's the core of this entire war. One man believes speaking publicly is accountability. The other believes speaking publicly is betrayal. And in a culture where reputation is life currency, that difference isn't minor, it's explosive. Because this beef was never just about diss tracks. It's about pride, about perception, about pain, about addiction, about authenticity, about who gets to define real. And until those definitions line up, this story isn't finished. In Kodak's framework, it was simple. Putting another man's business in the streets equals snitching. Not courtroom paperwork, not federal cooperation, public exposure. And that accusation completely reframed the war between Kodak Black and Boosie Badazz. It stopped being about who was right about Tekashi 6ix9ine. It stopped being about who had better bars. It stopped being about ego. It became about something deeper. What do you owe another man in terms of privacy and respect, especially when he's already a public figure whose struggles are constantly dissected online? Boosie believed he was stating the obvious. Kodak believed he was breaking the code. Neither one budged an inch. Christmas Eve, the January explosion. The final major escalation before the February 2026 Texas incident didn't happen on Instagram. It happened on wax. On January 7, 2026, Kodak dropped a track titled Christmas Eve. It wasn't subliminal, it wasn't coded, it wasn't ambiguous. It was direct. Bars like, "Fuck that lame nigga Boosie. I used to look up to Boosie. He hate I got more bread. Old head stupid." Those lines were layered. First, Kodak admitted something real. He once respected Boosie, looked up to him, saw him as an OG. Then he flipped that same sentiment into a weapon. "I used to look up to Boosie." That line wasn't nostalgic. It was surgical. It told Boosie, you fumbled your standing. You lost the respect. You're not that guy to me anymore. But what really ignited the situation wasn't just the lyrics, it was the timing. Boosie's federal gun sentencing was set for January 9th. Kodak dropped Christmas Eve on January 7th, 48 hours before court. To Boosie, that wasn't coincidence. That was calculated disrespect. Whether Kodak intended it that way stopped mattering the second Boosie believed it was personal. Nuclear clapback. On January 8th, Boosie fired back on X. All caps, no filter. He called Kodak a clout-chasing crackhead. That wasn't just an insult. It fused two narratives Boosie had been pushing for years. Kodak's alleged substance spiral, Kodak manufacturing beef for attention. Boosie made it clear he saw the drop date as malicious. You know what I got going on, and you do this the day before court? Then he went for career shots, called Kodak's music trash, said his career was over, claimed the only time Kodak trends is when he mentions Boosie or Youngboy Never Broke Again. That last line was strategic because it reframed the entire beef as content farming. In Boosie's telling, this wasn't rivalry, it was Kodak using bigger names to stay relevant. Whether charts backed that up or not didn't matter in that moment. It was effective rhetoric. It stripped Kodak of legitimacy and positioned Boosie as the bigger figure being targeted. The fans split the South in half. The January exchange triggered massive debate. Who means more to Southern hip-hop? Who has the stronger catalog? Who has the more authentic resume? Who's self-destructing? Who's clout-chasing? One side saluted Boosie for tough love. They saw him as an elder calling out dangerous behavior. The other side said he was obsessed, weird, fixated on a younger man's struggles. They pointed out Boosie's own controversies and legal battles and asked, "Who appointed you moral authority?" The culture was divided. Then came Texas. Kodak appears disoriented at a show, held up by security, reportedly 9 hours late, and Boosie responds with 5 words, "Dude needs help from afar." That line summarized 3 years of tension. Every diss, every accusation, every snitching debate, every addiction conversation. Boosie's position never changed. He believes Kodak needs help. Not clicks, not smoke, not clout. Help. Whether that's genuine concern or ego wrapped in righteousness depends entirely on which side you're on. What this beef is really about? This started over a collaboration with a so-called rat. It evolved into a debate about addiction, a debate about loyalty, a debate about privacy, a debate about hypocrisy, a debate about who defines real. Kodak says, "Stop airing my life out." Boosie says, "I'm calling what I see." And in hip-hop culture, reputation is currency. Once someone says you're spiraling, once someone says you're snitching, once someone questions your authenticity, those labels don't wash off easy. As of now, there's no resolution. Kodak still tells Boosie to mind his business. Boosie still sounds the alarm. And the internet? Still watching, still choosing sides, still debating who crossed the line. So, let me ask you, was Boosie speaking real out of concern? Or did he violate the code by calling Kodak out publicly? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want deeper breakdowns like this, hit that next video on your screen.